me and Jim met, funny enough, on the Long Island Railroad. I saw he had a Midtown Comics bag. I had just recently got into comic books, and we started talking. Started becoming like ride buddies, and we noticed like kind of just being a regular fan, we were kind of on the outside looking in,
Yeah.
and was like, how do we get to that inner level? How do we become more of a part of it? And this was like this wasn't the answer right away. We started a podcast. We did different things. We did like video book clubs where we did that on YouTube. But I think within the last like 3 years before opening the comic shop I think this is what it is. I think we want to own a comic shop.
Yeah.
We want to be surrounded by it. We both came from the corporate world, and we both had good jobs. It was it wasn't anything where I think we liked most of the people we worked with, but it wasn't like the fulfilling part of like it wasn't the dream job, and we kept circling back to that, and it took some time to find the right situation and get the significant others on board.
Yep.
The wives gave us the green light, and we're like, all right, no, take back keys. It's funny, I had never seen this movie before. This is my first experience with Ghost in the Shell. I wasn't sure I was going to like it because I'm not really a huge anime fan, but it was pretty cool. I did actually enjoy it. But there's certain scenes where I've noticed inspirations outside of the ones you mentioned.
Yeah.
When she's battling the tank, I literally just played a RoboCop video game.
Yeah.
Where there's literally a scene where he's fighting Ed 209. I was like, this is definitely pulled right from that in that scene.
And going back to the inspiration of this, you watch this, you finish this, and then you remember of all the other movies that you've watched, like Johnny Mnemonic, which is Jack In. That's what's his name, Keanu Reeves, and it's the same premise. So I could definitely see a lot of influence of other movies taken from this.
I got a very cable vibe from Batu.
Yes, very much. Yes, very cable inspired.
I think he came out 88 or 89. So
So
I think they're just taking a new approach. The Absolute Universe from the DC side. What Marvel is doing with the new Ultimates, it's giving people the opportunity who had never got to experience these characters to jump in. You got Bruce Wayne and Batman, who he's not rich. He still has his mom, so both his parents aren't gone. All his best friends are, his rogue gallery. So they're taking a completely different approach and like a fresh set of eyes. The Ultimate Universe is doing the same thing where, Peter Parker has kids and, he has a family. He's married to MJ. He never got his powers early on. He got him later in life when he's in his like 30s.
Yeah.
And then, Image is doing something similar. They're combining G.I. Joe, putting it in the same universe as the Transformers, something they've done a little bit with in the past, but really growing it. And then I feel like what the independents are really doing, they're taking a lot of chances in different areas. You're merging some similar ideas. There's like this book that we really enjoyed called Bug Wars, where it's kind of like, I don't know, like Lord of the Rings meets Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, it really is.
Basically putting those two worlds together, and it's the storytelling. I think a lot of the independents out there, like Image and Dark Horse and some of the other ones, the storytelling on them is a lot more, I'm going to say, better than what you're getting out of the DC and the Marvel universe. We've seen a lot. We've seen, Batman done thousands of times. We've seen, X-Men done several different times. But these new stories that are coming out, I think it's getting people to read more of outside the Marvel and DC world.
Favorite was probably the first one I saw, especially in theater, was the '89 Batman. It's just something so special about it. Michael Keaton, nobody loved Michael Keaton at the time to be in that role. And then Jack Nicholson, so iconic. It's the first time I think they really gave real credibility to a comic book movie after it was made. And then the underrated one, geez, there's so many that I think kind of fly under the radar. When it comes to like underrated like superhero or comic, I'm gonna actually go with The Losers.
Okay.
I really love that movie. I don't know if people haven't seen it. It's like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Idris Elba, Chris Evans, and like it's just kind of like a group of what's the word? When you get the mercenaries. So you
Okay.
had like Chris Evans, Idris Elba before everybody really made it big. Before the MCU kind of took over everything. A young Zoe Saldana too, and it's just a fun, like kind of underrated like movie. You don't expect it to be kind of a comic book movie, really, but that would be my underrated pick. So now you're on the hot seat for like your favorite and your underrated.
My favorite, I'm going to take it from him because it's one of his favorites. But, being a kid, in the 70s and going to see Superman. I mean, the original Superman, you got Truth, Justice, and the American Way up on the big giant
Glenn
screen.
Ford,
And you've got,
Christopher Reeve, best.
you can't touch that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's iconic. It's nothing will be as good as that.
Yeah.
And it's probably everybody's favorite movie, I would think. But it's very vivid in my memory as seeing that in the theater as a kid.
And your underrated pick?
Oh my God, I have no idea. Problem is I watch them all, and some of them I watch over and over and over again.
So
Suburban Commando.
Yeah.
Suburban Commando. So I'll give you my underrated pick, which is Warren Beatty's Dick Tracy, which
that's a great one.
which is definitely something that I want to screen at some point, and I think is
Absolutely
well in due of a
worth it.
revival.
Yeah.
This is one of those movies that if you haven't seen Dick Tracy, it's like honestly like a 4-panel comic strip, not even a comic book on screen. So one of those things that I really love. And we'll open it up to questions.
The good thing, it puts a different spin on the story. Because usually, directors, actors, they'll put their own little, spin on the movie compared to what's in the comic book. So, you watch the movie, you try to, find like the new Superman movie that just came out. It's based off what is it, All-Star Superman? So different parts of that was taken from the book. Gives you a chance to go back and read the book.
And it's varying levels of success too. I think some people manage to do it really well. Like he's saying, when they kind of take the civil liberties with the story, sometimes they do it well. Sometimes it's kind of off the mark.
Yeah.
But everybody gets their shot at it at some point, I guess. It's interesting that you say that because we do know as such a close kind of comparison there are between the two. You don't see a lot of crossover as much as you would think. Me personally, I don't delve too much in manga myself. I don't think Jim does either. So I do think as kind of like as expected as it should be, and I think more people who are comic fans and more people who are manga fans in both aspects should really try the other side, because I think they're so similar that it's really surprising that both sides don't really enjoy them equally. Speaking of anime, one of the most famous new female artists is an artist named Peach Momoko.
Yeah.
She's exploded within the last 3 to 4 years, where she's doing she's not only writing, but she's doing the art for a book called Ultimate X-Men. So the influence, the female influence on comic books on that side specifically, and the creator side, is really expanded greatly over the last few years.
All right, there we go. Tess, Jim, thank you so much. We've run into technical difficulties, as my daughter said. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Check out their store in Lynbrook. They're great guys. They have a great shop. Thank you guys so much.